Welcome to the training for Optomed Aurora AI camera and DR screening service. This session is going to focus on camera technique and imaging workflow. My name is Kyle Brandt. I'm a product manager at Optomed. If you have any questions after this presentation, feel free to reach out and I'd love to help. The Aurora AI system is two parts, the camera and the online web portal. The camera comes packed in a carrying case with all necessary parts. I highly recommend reading the user manual and other printed guides. We will only be using the Retina module for the Aurora AI service. Let's get started with the unboxing of the Aurora camera. Attach the Retina module optics by aligning its bayonet legs into the holes and firmly yet gently pressing the camera body and lens together. Attach silicone eye cup to the lens and be cognizant not to touch the lens glass. Gently insert a battery into the camera body and close the battery door. Plug the charging station into the power outlet and place the spare battery in its base. Leaving the camera batteries plugged in will not harm its performance, which is about 2 to 2.5 hours of continuous use, and that's not considering the battery saving functions. The power button, back button, and OptoRoller allow you to navigate the menu screens. I'd like to draw your attention to the icons on the upper right hand corner of the screen, the wireless connection and cloud connection status icons. These are important in seeing at a glance if you are connected to a wireless network and/or the AI service, and which needs to be addressed if these icons are grayed and crossed out. See Appendix A of the user manual for more information on these connections. The Aurora AI web portal is used for registering user accounts, clinics, and administrative tasks associated with the service. Things like viewing user statistics, viewing and download images, and AI reports can also be done from the portal. Here's an overview of the Aurora AI workflow. After registration is complete, images are taken and results are sent to the camera, the portal, and associated email. I'm not going to delve deep into the first-time use since it's outlined in detail in other resources. There's a quick start PDF guide available as well as an Optomed Aurora AI training video that shows these steps. This should be done at receipt of the camera after portal registration. Wi-Fi and portal login are necessary to run an AI study. Please note that WPA2 personal Wi-Fi 2.4 GHz connection is required. Patient preparation for imaging. Dim lights or closed curtains. The patient should be seated with lights dimmed, not facing any windows or computer screens. I recommend patient and photographer both seated. Chairs with armrests and stools with casters are optional, but helpful. Clean the silicone eye cup with an alcohol swab, being careful not to touch the lens. Have the patient cover their eye not being imaged with their hand and keep both eyes open. I like simple instructions which are the easiest for patients to follow. Things like blink then open wide and focus on the red dot. For very small pupils, patients may need to be dilated. It's recommended that pupils be larger than 2 mm in diameter for ease of imaging. The following is a concise overview of proper photography technique. The Aurora is very light, but it's important to balance between two hands, with one on the handle ready to press the shutter, and the other supporting the front of the lens as seen on the image. The thumb of this front supporting hand is upturned into an ergonomic divot on the Retina module. We will then focus our attention on the camera's view screen to move the camera closer and align to visualize the patient's retina. We'll focus the camera and finally capture an image. Let's break down each of these building blocks on the next few slides. Build a stable base. Have both the patient and the photographer seated. Use two hands to hold the device, with the front hand thumb in the ergonomic divot on the lens. Anchor the rest of those front fingers on the patient's forehead. Being stable is one of the most important parts of getting a sharp image. Some people like to tuck their arms into the sides to be more stable. Some like to rest their elbows on a chair rest. Level your camera. The camera should be level or perpendicular to the back of the patient's eye. The line of sight should go from the photographer through the camera screen, through the lens to the patient's eye, not looking around the camera to the front of the patient. Trust the image you're getting on the screen for alignment, and know that with proper technique, you won't be touching the patient's eye. On the live IR image, you'll be able to see the iris and pupil of the patient. Center that dark pupil on screen and slowly move in. Find the gray retina within the black pupil and recenter it as you move in. It's likely near the top of the pupil. It's important to note that this is done by pulling the thumb of that front support hand. Any movements and adjustments must be tiny and done by this front thumb. Fill the frame with gray retina. Aim help circles will turn from red to green when you do. Move in closer, maybe about another millimeter. The optimal imaging distance is about 2 centimeters or 3/4 of an inch from the front of the camera lens to the patient's eye. Make any micro adjustments with your thumb of the front hand. Due to magnification, small movements are necessary, and using the small muscle groups of that front hand instead of the big muscle movements of the hand holding the handle and shutter is the biggest lesson to learn today. If you lose the retina, don't worry. Just back out and try to approach again. Practice these steps when teaching new photographers, centering and approaching the pupil and filling the frame with retina, all without taking an image. Practice this alignment and continue to practice the alignment before moving on to focus and acquisition, stressing that the front supporting thumb is doing the adjustments and not the arm holding the handle. When aligned, gently depress the shutter halfway to start the autofocus. Rectangle on the screen will turn from red to green when focus is achieved. Make those final adjustments, hold steady, and depress shutter fully to take the picture. Note that you don't want to squeeze the shutter button so hard that you move the camera. Steady is the mantra when using the Aurora. You are in control of when to take the picture. Make those little alignment adjustments after gaining the focus and before image capture. There are 3 ways to use the autofocus when imaging. First, we start aiming without pressing the shutter. The autofocus will engage when the aim help circles turn green. The image can be taken when the shutter button is fully depressed. With this technique, it's easier to focus on aiming and not half or whole press of anything. My preference, and as I first described, is press halfway to engage the autofocus. Once the autofocus is obtained, fully depress shutter button when and only when that photographer determines the best results. The last option is to press the shutter button all the way to capture an image as soon as autofocus is obtained. In some instances, we need to force the image acquisition. Times such as when patient cooperation is challenging, view is fleeting through small pupils, etc. After imaging, it's important to review the photo. The image preview screen is an important part of taking good images and allows for instant feedback of technique. Inspect the photo for quality and retake if required. Common image artifacts include a white glare or shadow on the image. This is caused by technique alignment issues. When the artifact is on the bottom of the imaging distance is too far away and should be closer to the patient. Remember, the ideal distance to the patient is about 2 millimeters or 3/4 of an inch from the front of the lens to the patient's eye. This is ever so slightly forward from when the aim help circles turn from red to green. If the artifact is on the top of the image, the alignment is too close and the photographer needs to pull back slightly. If the image is not sharp, check the focus. If the image is washed out or underexposed, the brightness may have to be adjusted down or up, respectively. An optional setting that may help with those new to taking fundus images is image quality analysis. After an image is taken, brightness, reflections and shadowing, and sharpness are analyzed by the camera to assist the evaluation of the quality of the captured image. The results are shown on the image preview screen with these symbols, with 3 different colors presented on the right. Note, this is the camera doing its best to determine the quality of the image, and an experienced photographer may not need this feedback, as they'll know if a picture is of acceptable quality or not. This image quality analysis can be switched to 3 different sensitivities: basic, strict, and very strict. Let's analyze some common technique alignment issues in more detail. If the image is surrounded by dark on all sides and appears small, you are not through the pupil yet and need to come in closer. As discussed earlier, white reflections usually mean that you are slightly too close or too far. Practice makes perfect here. Artifacts like lines or many faint white dots at the top or bottom of the image may indicate eyelashes are in the way. Tell the patient to open wide or hold their lids up with a finger of your front hand while bracing against the forehead. If there is a dark shadow on the top of the image, it likely indicates that you are not as level or perpendicular as you need to be. By twisting the optoroller during live view, the quick settings menu can be accessed. Recommended settings for most staff are default, which are automatic focus, automatic brightness, and the center fixation target. Let's talk about each individual. Focus. If using manual focus, keep on 0 or input patient's glasses prescription if they know it, rounded to the nearest full diopter from -20 to +20. In autofocus, the camera finds the correct focus automatically. The autofocus range is -15 to +10 diopters. Manual focus may help in certain cases where the view is fleeting and the speed is ideal. Brightness. The suggestion value for eye colors when using manual brightness or exposure can be seen in the figure on the right. Auto brightness does a great job and rarely must be set to manual in cases of under or overexposure. Fixation. The Aurora has 9 fixation targets covering 70 to 90 degrees field of view, but the central fixation target is the only one to be used with an AI study. If changing any of these settings, they will be restored to default upon the creation of a new patient. Reiterate the full technique bullet points when teaching new photographers, which is that two-hand balance, we have a level eye line from the screen to the patient, that front hand support on that patient's forehead. We center the pupil on the screen, move in and recenter on that retina, filling the frame and turning those aim help circles green. We lastly focus and then squeeze the shutter when we are ready to take that image. I must note that cataracts, corneal opacities, nystagmus, conditions that cause body movement and or small pupils can complicate or prevent imaging. Patients may also be imaged from a supine position from a hospital bed. The photographer must come from a vertical angle with the camera to maintain that perpendicular alignment with the retina. From the Studies tab, you are able to create a new patient and study for AI review. Note that when in keyboard mode, the power button is used to cycle through keyboards, allowing access to lowercase and special characters. Use the optoroller to navigate and select letters. The back button now becomes confirmation and gets you to the next screen for imaging. Note that the camera shows an icon on screen when in live view what eye it expects you to be imaging. After you acquire an image, either retake the image if not of adequate quality, or select Continue to image the left eye. Note that the patient left eye icon on the right side of the screen is now highlighted. At the preview screen, we can still retake the left eye or submit images to the AI server. Once sent to AI, analysis only takes a few moments. The results are sent to the camera screen and the report is generated from the portal. Either negative for more than mild diabetic retinopathy, positive for more than mild diabetic retinopathy, or insufficient image quality. If image is insufficient quality, the AI result comes back as ungradable. Images with poor quality are highlighted with red. This instant feedback is helpful in order to re-image patient while they are still in the office. Once the analysis is complete and the report is generated, it is sent to 3 places: the camera, email, and the portal. Note that if you're only ever attaching the PDF from the email to the EMR, then you may not have to interface with the portal on a per patient basis. If the performance of the Aurora AI camera is abnormal, perform a hard reset by pressing the power and back buttons simultaneously for 7+ seconds. This will often clear any errors on the machine. If connections issues occur, log out and log back into the cloud. The camera can store about 10,000 photos, but each image takes up memory space and can make the system lag. We recommend deleting the images occasionally to prevent this. The user manual has additional information about troubleshooting and additional details about important information related to the camera and its use. Thanks for your time and enjoy your Aurora AI camera.